another serial killer. This is just the podcast, episode 32 of serial killers.
I mean, I love my serial killers, when it comes to researching their psyche.
That's what's relevant right now, though. I agree, but it is super relevant right now. They just keep popping up left and right. So, this is about the Portland, alleged serial killer, Jesse Calhoun.
Oof.
This was being speculated about for a while. People on the internet, the community in Portland, have been saying they thought a serial killer was picking off women for a while now, months. And all of the bodies were found this year. Oh. So, just in the past couple weeks, we finally got a suspect. The police were denying it. Like, there is no connection. Stop sleuthing. You know, it's dangerous to speculate this way, that kind of stuff. Now, the police have not confirmed. It was actually the DA's office who finally said, yes, we found a link between 4 of the victims to Jesse Calhoun, and they finally said who he was. Now, he is not on the streets. He is in jail because he violated his parole and they're keeping him in there, obviously, thank God, and they're investigating this.
You know what's interesting? I find, not to interrupt you here, but
you are.
I know. Is the different description of serial killer. I feel like we even see mainstream media, news, content creators, everything using 2 different definitions of serial killer. Because you guys, when we talk about a serial killer, we're talking about somebody that has 3 or more in a repetitive fashion, similar way, ending people under their belt. That is what the definition of serial is. Now, a lot of people like to clarify out there the difference between that kind, the definition, and your 1980s chainsaw, nipple belt, 10 in the double digits.
Ted Bundy,
yes.
or,
yes.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Anybody that does this repetitively with 3 or more people is a serial killer. And if they're not caught, there's a very good chance they're going to get up there in 10, 15, turn into a Bundy, into, Son of Sam, into any of these other
Gacy
guys. Spec.
You have a white fuzz in your hair. Something. Okay.
Good?
Yep.
Good.
So, Calhoun is 38, okay? And he has a long, extensive criminal history. And I have found out a lot more since we first brought this up on stream. We've been, investigating, watching a local Valley Ray who's going to the homeless community because they got a bead on what's going on.
Always.
And, looking into this.
Yep.
Well,
and shout out to Valley Ray. That's really good content locally, and everything I've seen, he is really caring and concerns about the homeless population. He brings out water to them and
anything
dog
they need,
food
dog
for one
food,
of their
clothes.
dogs. It's incredible. So
yeah,
shout out to you.
Yep, he's awesome, and he interviewed the girlfriend, which we'll talk about here soon. But so. December 22nd of 2022, Kristen Smith... Wait. Kristen Smith was reported missing first? I thought Ashley was reported missing. Okay, yeah, that's correct. December 22nd, 2022, Kristen Smith, who was 22 years old, which is funny, 22... That just hit me. She was reported missing. Then, February 19th, 2023, she was found dead in Portland. April 4th, 2023, they got a missing person report for Ashley Reel, the Portland Police Bureau. Then April 24th, so later that month, 2023, Charity Perry was found deceased in Multnomah County, and she was 24. April 30th, 2023, Bridget Leanne Ramsey Webster. people go by Ramsey or Webster, like they say both. I'm not really sure what it is. But she was 31, and she was found deceased in Polk County. May 7th, 2023, Ashley Reel finally, several months later, or 2 months later, I think, or is it a month? April, May. It's a month. Found dead in Clackamas County. So there are 2 more people. One is unidentified. The other one is not supposedly connected, at least that they found so far. And these bodies are all within a 100-mile radius, and Portland's like basically in the middle. So they found the links to those 4. But before that, everybody, like, all these women, it seems, were found in a similar fashion, like dumped on the side of a road. And they all have a similar background, like using drugs and prostituting and, you know, living that life, like the street life. So they're all, you know, young, they're all petite, and they all are living the street life. Like, that's already a connection, and people online were taking notice. And just now, we get to find out that they actually knew him. And we first found out because Veli Ray did that interview. He's literally the one that broke that clue, like, where they know for sure that he was connected to 2 of them, which was Ashley and Bridget. Because he had videos on his phone of them nude doing drugs, and one in a sex act, and his girlfriend found them and told Veli Ray on the video. We hear lots of other things that's insight into his life, like how he was into aggressive sexual things and would get mad at her when she didn't want to do it.
Didn't feel comfortable doing it.
He had to degrade her to be able to...
Yeah. And what I was saying, too, because I said... And what's funny, I didn't mean what you were talking about. What's funny is it's so obvious all these women are of similar build, similar age. Most of them have dark hair or red, which is a darker red hair color.
They're all white.
And the police were coming out saying, no, these women, there's no connection. There is no similarities here. What?
There's definite similarities. Do they all look identical? No. But they're all within like a younger age range, 20s to 30, early 30s. And they all are like
shorter women.
They're all
petite.
Smaller, they're skinny, and their lifestyle is all identical.
Yep.
It's all the same.
And they all have darker hair. None of them were like blonde hair, blue eyes, or anything like that. I think they were very similar.
So, yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, we have no idea how they died. There has been no coroner report.
I could tell you.
They haven't looked into it. We have a theory that it was strangulation because of just things from the girlfriend and learning about him. And obviously drugs and videoing them, there's something to that.
There is.
But we have no idea officially how they died, the manner they were found in. No clue.
Well, it's funny, we found evidence after we came up with that, and I know I already said this, but somebody might be watching this video that didn't watch the story we just talked about.
I suggest go back and watch that on live stream, the whole interview. It's very interesting.
But I read body language for work, so I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And we both were sitting on live stream talking about how we think he did it. And we said, we think, based off everything that we're hearing, the size of him, and...
Oh, yeah, we didn't say. He's 6'4" and 260 pounds. He is literally massive.
The same size as Rex Heuermann, which these are massive, scary men, you guys.
They're
260 big. And not overweight. He is
all muscle.
Has been building, but we had a theory that it was strangulation based off the things we were hearing, how intimate he would want his encounters to be, and things like that, and especially with them being petite women, that tends to be the build that people look for, that like to strangle. And then we find out later that there was actually a woman who confirmed she was strangled by him.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
So,
sorry, jumping ahead.
You are. So, this man is a career criminal, and he's been caught up in charges before. Let's talk about why he's even on the streets.
Yeah.
So he went to jail. He was arrested for assault on a police officer, car theft, burglary, and assaulting a police dog. Okay,
Gosh.
He almost killed a police dog by strangling it. So he fought the wildfires, and I think wasn't it 2020? It doesn't say here exactly what year it was. Yeah, it was 2020. He was a part of a group of prisoners that went out and fought the wildfires, and this is like COVID times, and the Governor Kate Brown commuted sentences for the inmates that helped fight the wildfires. So his sentence was reduced, and he was let out after 11 months. Well,
which, side note, you guys, that should never happen. They need to change the law on violent criminals.
Yeah,
they
he's
should
a violent
not be
offender.
Yes, violent, aggressive, attacked multiple police and people, and they let him out on a reduced sentence. He shouldn't have even been allowed to go fight the fires, in my opinion. But
yeah, agreed. So actually, he was let out 11 months early.
Yeah. A year early. 11 months and some days. A year early, you guys.
Yep.
Wild.
It
man.
It is absolutely
for a violent
crazy.
offender. And I'm pretty sure he has 3 violent offenses against him, which in California 10 years ago, that would have been life.
So, the last time we know Ashley was alive was actually December of 22, according to the girlfriend. That's the last time she heard from her. I'm pretty sure, spoke with her. Because that's another weird thing. The girlfriend said that he was cheating on her with Ashley, and Ashley actually reached out to her and said, hey, I'm sleeping with your guy. And then she told her to stop, and then she said she took her under her wing like a daughter.
Strange, I know.
But she was still messing around with her boyfriend, most of the time.
And by the way, her daughter is the same age as Ashley.
I know.
She's 21.
I know.
I think is what it was, yeah.
So, interesting. But we have a report here saying, and this is according to Ashley Reel's father, that November 11th, he called police after his 22-year-old daughter, she was 22, showed up crying at his home and said Calhoun tried to strangle her and took her cell phone. She had marks on her neck. So he took, it was real. They took her to Adventist Health Hospital in Portland for treatment. And he thinks that she was in his car at the time of the attack.
Of course.
Of course, because that's where videos of the girls were in a lot of the situations. So that's interesting that it was strangling her. This is a reoccurring theme. Like the dog. He was into aggressive things sexually.
It's so crazy she went back out with him.
I know. So they talked to the police and they took the report. Okay, the police took the report. She said his name, told them it was Jesse Calhoun. The officer said they were familiar with him, but they didn't do anything. Nothing came of it. So she apparently was scared about helping find him and stuff, but they just ended up not doing anything.
You guys, that is unacceptable.
I agree. And
lives would have been saved here if charges would have been pressed, which, by the way, he already had a record with multiple aggressive offenses and would have been back in prison because of that.
There is a clear escalation here. He was first charged.
Really?
There's a clear, and I'll link this article so people can go read it, because this is a good article and it's the only one I could find that detailed his criminal history well. I couldn't find a single other article that actually went into it. But November 2007, he was drinking at Stockman's Bar in Baker City with his girlfriend, who was 22 at the time, which is weird.
Bruh.
Again. Oh, no, he was 22. He was 22, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But he suddenly exploded, apparently, and got super jealous and angry and grabbed her by the throat.
Of course.
Super tightly, and she couldn't breathe. He let go, and there were impressions, there were red marks. Well, he wasn't done, because they left and drove home, and just 2 miles from the bar, he punched her in the head and the arm as she sat in the car. She cried, and when she described it to police later that night, she said she was in a lot of pain, that it hurt really bad.
Oh my gosh.
So, 6
Please
months...
tell me she never went back to him.
Oh, she stayed with him because 6 months later, he knocked her off a bicycle and dragged her 50 feet across a parking lot. She suffered head injuries.
My gosh.
I know. It's crazy. So he has 2 decades of a criminal history in Oregon.
Battered woman syndrome is so scary, man. It is so scary being with abusers like this that make you feel like you need to stay with them.
I know. It's wild.
Yeah, I feel awful for these women, and a lot of what makes me feel even worse for them is people on the outside looking in don't understand how it works. So they look at these women and they think, what idiots. They could just leave. All they have to do is leave. They have no concept of understanding of how that feels in that moment and how those women feel like that is their lifeline, you know? So it's like if there's no food on the world and all the food comes from one person, and in order to get the food, that person has to punch you in the face a few times, everyone would go willingly be punched in the face for that food. It's that similar type of feeling that's their lifeline, and they're willing to look past these things and make excuses in their own head for these people, and it is a very dangerous syndrome that, more public information and knowledge could help a lot of these women out.
I agree. For sure. I think it's really sad, hearing it. He probably abused so many women in his lifetime. So many.
I bet all.
Yeah.
All the
every
women
single
he's with.
Every single woman.
Yeah.
And from what I know, from the interview with the girlfriend, his father, it sounds like he just has a father and a brother.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
And
a father and a brother.
There's rumors around Reddit from people who say they know him that they were bullies in school. Both him and his brother would wait somewhere and beat people up and jump people.
It sounds like it to me based off his history.
So the first instance I have here was when he was 18 years old, and police arrested him for assaulting a man in Baker County, July 2002. He was convicted of felony assault in the 3rd degree and sentenced to 10 days in jail, 3 years probation. And then he ended up back in jail shortly after, violating his probation for drugs.
Did you say 3 days?
No, not 3 days, just shortly after.
Oh, okay.
And because he violated his probation.
Was he in jail?
I'm not... Okay, he was sentenced to only 10 days in jail.
Yeah,
and
that's wild for a felony
I agree.
assault. Oh my gosh.
And 3 years probation, and he violated it super quick, apparently. It doesn't say how long he went. But for illegal drugs and failing to stay at his reported address and failing to follow the directions of his probation officer. He was also arrested in March 2005 for violating a restraining order after he allegedly threatened and harassed a woman that he had a child with, which that is the woman he had a child with, is the one that he hurt like that. He had a kid with her.
I feel like violent offenses should always get the maximum sentence with no option of reduction.
How many kids does he have? Because I'm pretty sure he had a kid with that lady. And now it's saying in 2005 the restraining order one is a different woman he had a child with. And then violent outbursts involving his girlfriend in East Oregon, which is the one I think I just talked about.
Yeah, I don't know.
What the heck?
I'll try looking it up as you go.
So
But just
that's
go ahead.
crazy. Yeah, they're talking. Okay, that is it. So, anyway, there's also another account that after he was let out of jail, May 16th, 2022, a Clackamas man named Craig Wangrid filed a petition for a stalking order against Calhoun.
No way.
Yes. So apparently,
stalking, violent assault, abuse, verbal abuse. Oh.
well, and this had to do with his current girlfriend, Krista Senor, which is the one they did an interview with. Veli Ray did an interview with. So apparently they clashed over Wangrid, which is the guy, Craig Wangrid, because he spent time with him.
Okay.
Calhoun spending time with Wangrid's former domestic partner, Krista Senor. So that must be his ex. Like, that could be the father of her other kid then, which she has 2 kids, and I think one is from Jesse and one is from her ex.
Yep.
Because he has the kids now.
Yeah.
He has the kids now. The father, they're not allowed to be with her right now, which makes sense. But April 29th, 2022, a text message, according to Wangrid's complaint, Calhoun admitted to following him and threatening him in a series of text messages. Quote, "I know everything about you, dude. Everywhere you go, what you do." Calhoun allegedly wrote in the text message, "Stop effing with Krista, dude. I'm going to tell you this only once. You are a effing idiot." And then it has quotes sick, like SIC. I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
That can't get over Krista and ruining her life, and I'm here to stay. That won't be happening much longer. Put that on God. You are a cocky, ignorant son of a bee that will always get yours when the time is right. So he has a long history of carrying out violent person-to-person crimes, including assault of a police officer, threatened me, admitted to stalking me while he's still on parole in Mahomet County, which is what Wangrid wrote in his stalking order. So there's a lot on this guy. A lot. Then you have Ashley Real.
It's over and
there was
over
an escalation.
and over.
And what's scary is he had a history of violence. Like, it wasn't just this one-off where he assaulted a police officer and a police dog. He had a history, an extensive history. And was still let out. And a lot of people are saying Kate Brown is getting heat. Well-deserved. You don't just let out a bunch of violent offenders early because they helped fight a wildfire. I don't even think they should have got that opportunity. Why are we not giving that to the people with petty drug charges and stuff like that?
Did it have something to do with the size? I don't know. But either way, I don't think it's okay. I don't think that violent offenders should be allowed to work in any of the work programs. I don't think that violent offenders should be allowed to get out early. I don't think that violent offenders should be able to do any of those extra programs at all, having to do with the kitchen or anything, dude. I don't think they should get any of those rights.
I agree. I mean,
a violent offense is much, much, much different than like a drug charge, a theft, something that just hurts them directly physically, you know? Mm-hmm.
So basically, he was under post-incarceration supervision because of the investigations into these women's deaths.
Great.
Huh?
Good.
Yeah, right. And that could have led to sanctions basically revoking his release, his prior early release from prison. At some point, he fled to Milwaukee. I'm a bit confused how he ended up in Milwaukee. We don't really have those details.
Yeah.
But they transferred him back here, and now he's sitting in jail until, they can formally charge him. He's not formally charged yet.
It's
now,
coming, bro.
Now, Veli Ray has alleged in some of the videos we were watching on live stream that he believes there's multiple killers in the Portland area right now. We're really curious if he's right and if we can get more information, and we'd love to talk to him to, figure out why he thinks that. But he was going around talking to the homeless population, and there were several of them that said he drives a white van, or I've seen him, which I actually think it's more like a PT Cruiser style Chevy, like you were saying.
HHR.
But he was selling fentanyl.
He was selling fentanyl. And that interview with the girlfriend, she made so many excuses for him, you guys. So it was obvious once she got talking about, like, some of their intimate interactions and things like that, where she goes into talking about, yes, when we got together, we did new, like, sex type stuff, and it pushed her boundaries. And then she went on to say that, when she wasn't comfortable with something, he would get mad, and she caught herself right before what I think she was going to say. It would turn into a fight and get physical, something to do with that, okay? And where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I definitely think she was abused, though, based off of his history. I don't think there's any way that he was this... so in the beginning is when I feel like she made the most excuses and tried to paint him...
just excuses.
Yeah, she tried to paint an image of him like he's this family man, would do anything for his family, good with the kids, like a loving man.
Yes, that's what I was going to talk about. Good call.
It just doesn't make any sense once Veli Ray really starts asking her questions, and he asks her some hard questions and calls out some BS a few times, which props to him. He navigated that interview really well.
I thought so too. Yep.
But
I thought he did really good.
You start getting an idea. Like, she tried to claim she never saw him use drugs, but knew he was selling fentanyl because it was in the house.
And she also said that she told him he was high.
But when he started sensing he was being followed, everyone was telling him, like, oh, dude, you're too high. Like, her and some other person, unnamed individual in the car, told him he was too high. Well, so clearly he gets high, and you said he didn't use drugs, but clearly he uses drugs.
Yep.
And I don't know if she's concerned with somehow incriminating herself because of her children and stuff like that.
In 2018, he got arrested with meth. So in my experience, guys like him, those real, like, tough guys, for whatever reason, they usually tend to use meth. I don't know why. I've seen that connection in my own experiences.
Well, and that's a good thing to talk about, our theory.
Him losing control.
Losing control after meth, because if you don't know, methamphetamine, it makes you feel like a superhero, and it can make people really lower their inhibitions and really, like, go for it with things. And it can make some people who have, like, internal desires, like kinky type desires, explore them, like, fully. And if somebody's already, like, into what he was into, like aggressive and violent with women and degrading them, did he get in these situations where he's doing drugs with these girls and hooking up with them and take it too far?
Yeah, and meth does that, you guys. If you guys don't have a good understanding, if you even have, like, a little bit of that sociopathy in you, and then you put meth on it, it takes anything that's little, that insecurity, that overwhelming, like, instability, psychosis, sociopathy, anything like that, and it times it by 100, okay? And it becomes very, very dangerous, very, very quick. And I think that has to do with all of this.
Yeah.
I truly, truly do. I think he stays away from his at-home girl when he's using. He goes with these other women where there are videos with them with needles and other drug paraphernalia, and they get high, and he loses control. That's what I think is going on. So, based off my own opinions of him. And
it's really sad.
It's
like,
these
were, displaced, vulnerable women, and, we've seen a few of the victims' families speak up, and even though they had their issues, they were loved. Like, they were somebody's daughter, somebody's friend, somebody's sister, and And they deserve justice. I'm really curious about the Native American woman and the other one that were found, though. They don't fit the type, but it's interesting, to say the least, that so many bodies have been popping up the beginning of this year all around the same time and dropped off at, different locations around the Portland area.
Yeah.
But
and those are only the ones we know about on a national level,
Yep.
you guys. They're also talking about multiple other bodies found in that area. And I think that's why they think it's a ring of people, is because there are different ways that these people are being ended. It's a mixture of men and women. But just think, if it's a group like what he's talking about, if that's true, that is very scary. And that's also a very hard case for police to work, because you have to first identify how many different enders there are, killers there are, and then come up with a pattern and a best description for each of them, and then start connecting the bodies to those. Like, that is so much work. That's already months and months of work just for one, okay? And then if you have a group, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see where this is going to go. We're going to be following it closely. We're going to be covering it on live stream as things come out. And Veli Ray is clearly the foot soldier on the ground out there in the streets. He's from that
area, and not
we're
afraid to get out there.
Yeah, we're going to be digging into it and, see what happens with it. I really hope he ends up getting charged. The police are being extremely tight-lipped. They will not say anything about anything. We only know about this because of the girlfriend and the DA, not the police.
You have got to check out that girlfriend interview, okay? I'll post the video of us watching it here.
Okay, so thumb for girlfriend, thumb for...
Well, there's two for the girlfriend interview. We did about 20 minutes of it the first night when we very first found it, because a lot of times on the live stream, we're sleuthing, where we're not coming to the live stream with a plan. We have a general outline of what we're going to watch, and then we figure it out. We start digging into it, And,
we're investigating. We'll link those videos in the description, and we'll...
and let us know what you think,
Yeah,
you
definitely
guys.
check it out, and check out future streams, and let us know what you think about this Portland alleged serial killer.
If you're from that area, please reach out.
Yes.
I want to know some local details and information on what you think, and why you think Veli Ray believes that there's more than one person here, and
the families,
how that adds up. You know?
The families do think it's a serial killer from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's it.